Hello. I just saw your hand.
It's nice to see you giggly,
Like.
but I think I need to come out of the darkness here. I'm pivoting towards the light.
Oh, I can
How's
hear
that?
myself laughing and I'm not even laughing. Oh, it's delayed. Oh, I know what's happening. Hold on a minute. No, I was hearing the YouTube being played back again.
Ah, okay.
It was like a delayed echo, like 1 minute ago. It's like that already happened 1 minute ago. Namaste. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So I read this on the front of the Way of the Bodhisattva today. I probably read it before, but might not. It says, if I have any understanding of compassion and the practice of the Bodhisattva path, it is entirely on the basis of this text that I possess it. His Holiness the Dalai Lama. It's good.
That is enthusiastic endorsement, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
So I have a little mark in my book on verse 93. It was under 93.
Okay.
Vigilant introspection.
You know, I've just been thinking about the title and of this chapter, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that we're going to move on to the next chapter if time
Mm-hmm.
allows in this session.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next chapter is called Patience.
Mm-hmm.
And when I compare that to vigilant introspection, there's just a huge amount of effort in my mind related to vigilant introspection. Like it takes real effort to be
Mm-hmm.
vigilant, whereas patience is, for me anyway, it's more of a relaxed, open spaciousness. You have to
Mm-hmm.
relax to be patient, but to be vigilant and
Yeah.
introspective, that requires, I mean, and we're talking about the analogy of
Mm.
chaining a wild elephant. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have
I
to
feel it
keep an
totally
eye on that
differently.
thing. No, please say
I
more
feel
then.
it totally different. Like, so vigilant introspection, I feel like that's a kind of an awareness or something that's just here. You don't have to do anything for it. It's like your vigilant introspection. It's like you're choosing to not let your mind take over, I suppose. And you're staying as yourself.
Mm,
So I know it can seem effortful maybe at certain points, but it's really what you are. So it's not really effortful, really. Um, Vigilant introspection. Yeah, that's how I feel it. It's just like your awareness is here and you know that awareness is here. Whereas when I think patience, like I can see myself behaving in impatient ways, and I really feel like I could do with having more patience, especially when it comes to parenting, and you have your little child like doing kind of really annoying stuff. Like, and sometimes it just happens that patience flows out, and sometimes it doesn't. And in a way, they kind of go together because if vigilant introspection is here a lot, I don't feel like it necessarily means that patience flows out for me, like just because the introspection is here. But I feel, yeah, I don't know.
it's a year that we're retired and moved to Portugal now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and it was, I think, the last day of March. So the last day of March is when we arrived here.
mm,
And I bring that up to say that patience is something I notice occurring naturally, like when I'm waiting online
yeah.
or when I'm waiting to go out or really in the
Mm,
process of, say, learning a new piece of software. I'm doing a
mm,
little of that. So I'm not so hard on myself. So there's
yeah.
something about being retired that's made patience a lot more accessible to me.
Mm.
Whereas vigilant introspection feels like, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but it
Yeah.
feels like something I have to practice.
Yeah. And it can be
Just
like
saying.
that. Like everyone has different, we maybe one person gets really patient before they get good at something else, and one person is good
Mm,
at this before they're good at that. We're all totally different, and it depends
mm,
on our, like, who knows what it depends on, but like conditioning is a big thing. Like, and patience, I suppose it is a natural, something natural that flows from our natural state. So when we're in our natural state, patience flows from there. But also, it is, at least here, like my understanding of it with this, like how I see myself behave is like when I'm impatient, it doesn't really necessarily have anything to do with, like, it's a conditioning thing. So it's like I'm getting really, like, something is getting triggered and it causes me to behave in an impatient way. So that's more about conditioning. So I actually could be still very much introspective at that time, because just by being introspective, it doesn't take all your conditioning away, and it doesn't make you just instantly behave like a bodhisattva,
mm.
you know. So having vigilant introspection, um, how I see that, it's not even like being awake or not awake or being aware of your awakeness. Vigilant introspection, it really means like the way it's talked about an elephant, like controlling your elephant. So having vigilant introspection, it's kind of like that. It's just like not letting yourself get carried away by your by thoughts, really. But see, there are other things other than thoughts as well. Like your conditioning it's kind of like, it could be said that it's thought, but it's a much deeper kind of thought that you don't necessarily have um so much initial control over. Like more kind of focus and more work has to be applied in order for it to change. Whereas a thought, like if you're aware of a thought, you can just leave it, you know, or not. So
Well,
that's why I
there you
kind of
go.
feel it as an easier thing. But I do understand, because it wasn't always an easy thing.
Mm. I also, before we jump in, I wanted to highlight what I think is just a gorgeous comparison, if you will. He's
Hmm.
talking about covering the world with leather. That would be really,
Hmm.
really, really hard in terms of trying
Yeah.
to trying to practice vigilant introspection. But if you just put leather shoes
Yeah.
on your feet, now suddenly,
Yeah.
everywhere you go has a leather barrier between you and your feet. So he's talking about tethering the wild elephant, in effort to practice, and that
Yeah.
you don't really have to affect anything out in the world if all you're doing is attending to your mind.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. I just have to fix my internet and make my internet better for a second. Stop. Okay.
Yeah,
I
sure.
have a little thing I need to turn on. Hold on. Back in
Okay.
1 second.
Sadly, me streaming by myself to the Facebook. I'm live streaming on my own now. It's just me alone and the whole Facebook world streaming away.
I was back. I was back there to hear you saying that. That was good. Okay, so I often start. So would you like to start?
What verse are we on? 90?
I feel like you're like my mirror image. Like we both have this, and it kind of feels like I'm looking in the mirror.
You know, someday we're going to meet in person. We're not going to have these on. I don't know if we're going to recognize.
I think we should wear them if we ever meet in person, just so that we recognize each other. I hope I remember that when I'm ever coming to Portugal. Bring my headset.
So we're on, did you say 90?
Um, I have it folded under verse 93, so I don't know if that means we're
93.
on 93 or 94. So I think you can start on 93.
93 then. Do not travel, sit or stay alone with women of another house, and all that you have seen or have been told to be a cause of scandal, that you should avoid. Not rudely pointing with your finger, but rather with a reverent gesture, showing with the whole right hand outstretched. This is how to indicate the road. Do not wave your arms with uncouth gestures. Express yourself instead with unobtrusive signs, with gentle sounds and finger snaps, for acting otherwise is impolite excess. Lie down to sleep in the preferred direction, in the posture of the Buddha when he passed into nirvana. And first, with vigilance, decide that you'll be quick to rise again. The actions of the Bodhisattva are unbounded, so the teachings say. Of these, until the goal is won, embrace the practices that purify your mind. Reciting thrice by day and thrice by night the sutra in 3 sections, relying on the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, purify the rest of your transgressions. And I have to say, I'm not familiar with the sutra in 3 sections, so maybe
Amazing.
that's homework for after we're done.
Yeah. Or
But I
homework for
suspect,
whoever's listening, because I know I'm probably
there
not
you go.
gonna look it up. Just if you're
Okay.
interested, you can look it up.
Yeah, and I suspect that they're available for free somewhere, at least for
Yeah, yeah, I'm
a
sure.
quick read.
Mm.
Wherever and whenever and whatever you are doing for your sake or the sake of others, implement with diligence the teachings given for that situation. There is indeed no field of knowledge that the Buddha's offspring should not learn. For those who are well versed in all these ways, there is no action destitute of merit. Directly, then, or indirectly, do nothing that is not for others' sake, and solely for their welfare dedicate your every action to the gaining of enlightenment. Never, at the cost of life or limb, forsake your virtuous friend, your teacher. Learned in the doctrine of the Mahayana, supreme and bodhisattva discipline, learn how to attend upon your guru, as described in the Sri Sambhava life. This and other teachings of the Buddha you should understand by reading in the sutras. Indeed, within these sutras all the practices are found. Therefore, read and study them. The Sutra of the Essence of the Sky is the text that should be studied first. So at least he's putting them in order for us. I have to appreciate that. All that must be practiced constantly is clearly and extensively explained within the digest of all disciplines. So this is something you should read repeatedly. From time to time, for sake of brevity, consult the digest of the sutras, and those 2 works peruse with diligence that noble Nagarjuna has composed. Whatever in these works is not prescribed, be sure to undertake and implement, and what you find enjoined there, perfectly fulfill, and so protect the minds of worldly beings. Examining again and yet again the state and actions of your body and your mind, this alone defines in brief the maintenance of watchful introspection. But all this must be acted out in truth. For what is it to be gained by mouthing syllables? What invalid was ever helped by merely reading in the doctor's treatises?
Mm.
Yeah, one of the longer chapters, and really powerful images and guidance there. So,
Yeah.
what do we say? Namaste to Shanti Deva.
Not a lot was, I felt like I didn't understand what I was talking about in most of those verses. But
He's, yeah, go ahead.
just in the last verse, I liked it. Like it's saying, like, for me, like it just means even reading this you know, so it's kind of given us lots of tips, isn't it, of how to live as a bodhisattva. And we're supposed to be following his guidance. That's the whole point. So he's saying, like, just reading it is not enough. Of
Right.
course, you have to take it and do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with teachings in general. I think we, like, I just mean we as humans, like, we tend to listen to the teachings and take them. Maybe we think we understand them, you know, and then we go around talking them, you know, we say this or say that, share quotes and all. It's like, oh yeah, I know now. But actually we fail to apply them to our lives, like, over and over again, to everything, because really that's what it's for. And that's why vigilant introspection is so important, because it can be that you totally understand the teaching, but like maybe every time you meet this particular person, you totally forget the teaching altogether, and you just behave in some kind of whatever way, a way that's according to the mind and not the heart, and you're totally not being a bodhisattva in that situation. And that's how I have seen it is in my life. Like, it's like I understand the teaching and I feel like it sunk into my heart, but over the years, like, I've seen then, like, at a certain point, then it's like, oh my God, like, in this particular situation, I haven't really been imbibing, like, the truth, you know, like, I've just been kind of neglecting it at this particular time. So then it has to kind of come in more and more and more. And I think that maybe can keep happening, like, endlessly, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe there is an end to that. But, like, as long as there's some kind of parts of conditioning, you know, because there's parts of conditioning in us and we don't see them, you know, so until we see them, we can't apply them. But that's why vigilant introspection is so important, because if we're not vigilant and, like, inward looking, and also not just inward looking, but looking from the truth, so we can see even the smallest things, then we're not going to be able to live as a bodhisattva, like, all the time. And I don't know, maybe all the time is a bit strict, but, like, we should be aiming to be all the time, like, not just on Monday mornings, or not just when, like, maybe, like, you have, like, a group of friends and you meet them every Friday or something. So then you're, like, perfect bodhisattva. But, like, the rest of the week you're not. When nobody's watching you or something, you're not, like, and that's not really good enough, you know. Like, it has to be all the time, when you're alone, even alone with your thoughts. You know, like, maybe it's like, you know, you're alone, so, like, it's like you don't have to hold up um a way of being anymore or something. So then you start judging the politicians or something, or whatever it is. You know, we all have different little things. Yeah, I don't.
I volunteer at a dog shelter once a week or so, and although it's delightful to do that,
Mm-hmm.
occasionally conversation will come up where we're talking about how the dog shelters run or where the
Yeah.
money's coming from, and so I can get right then that,
Mm,
oh, okay, fine line, let's
yeah.
change the subject or focus on something else
Yeah.
or think about a smiling
Yeah.
dog or something.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not even necessarily that that is wrong. It's just like, that's for you only to know. Like, something doesn't feel right in this conversation. You know, like,
Mm,
something in your nose, like, that doesn't feel right. So then, like, that's where vigilance is very important, because it's not just seeing it. Like, maybe we have to be a bit curious about it. Like, why does it not feel right? Like, what's happening? Because if we don't look very closely, like, you don't even know what it is that's actually happening. Like, maybe it's that you're judging someone and it doesn't feel right, or maybe it's that, like, someone else is doing that and you don't want to support it, or it could be, like, lots of different things. Because it could be that you could be involved in a conversation like that, but it's just kind of flowing out and there's nothing feeling wrong about it. Like, that's also possible. You know,
mm.
so we can only know really about what's going on in us. It's not for us to judge. Oh yeah, they're always, like, um giving out about, you know, what happens somewhere, whatever. So therefore, like, they're not behaving like bodhisattvas. Or something. I don't know.
Just, cultural differences too kind of highlight that for me. Like yesterday, I
Mm,
went to get a haircut, and I know that's a joke within itself, because,
yeah.
but I was standing opposite the counter, and the the guy who came sat down
Mhm,
and stared at his computer. He looked up at me and he
mhm,
said, "Do you have an appointment?"
mhm.
And I didn't have one, and he made a really stinky
You're like,
face.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Mm,
So, again, cultural distinction, I could have been
yeah,
offended or disappointed or humiliated
yeah,
or whatever. And I didn't realize till later, oh, that was a really stinky face he made.
yeah. But I also noticed sometimes I was walking along with my partner the other day, and I don't know what we were talking about, but he was saying something, and I noticed my face doing things. Like, and then I was like, "Well, if you were looking at my face, like you might make out that like there's a meaning in that, but like I don't feel like there's any meaning. But I'm able
Ah,
to see that there's something happening, so maybe those like responses, like I think maybe the responses are coming from somewhere, like maybe I don't know, like my body's responses or something. But like there was nothing in it. Like I knew that inside it was like, but like my body was doing, so I was just kind of laughing about it. And it can be like, like you said, cultural things. Like maybe culturally, like someone just go, the way like Italians do like this all the time. So maybe they're like doing this, but like they don't really mean anything by it. Like they've just done it so many times if they're annoyed or something, but maybe then they're not even really annoyed, but like it could be like, or maybe it's like a split second of annoyance or something. So they go like this. But if someone reacts to that, it turns into like a huge big thing. But like if you don't
right.
react to anything, and like my partner wasn't reacting anyway, he don't think he even noticed. But like it just
Mm.
happened that I noticed. I'm very like expressive with my face. I think I tend to be like, like exceptionally expressive.
So, just to put a finer point on it, you sensed some kind of bodily reaction to what was being said, but then no thoughts bubbled up. You were just aware of the body or the face
Yeah.
making different expressions, and you kind of let it
Yeah.
go.
So to be honest, not even the bodily, like there was no emotion in it.
Okay.
It's what I felt like, but there was like you wouldn't really know that from the outside. So let's say what like if I just went like this, like you might think that I was feeling something. If I sit there like that way, you'd be like, "What's happening?" Like, but like so it was something like that. Like my face was doing something, as if there was something, but I noticed there was actually nothing happening in my body at all.
Okay. Okay. I occasionally, I know we're getting off track here, but I
Mhm.
occasionally, I've taught myself sort of
Mm.
yes and no on my finger movements.
Uh-huh.
And there have been times when, someone was saying something and I realized that,
Yeah.
this big no was coming up.
Uh-huh.
Or sometimes I'll be sitting there just, spacing out maybe, and then all of a sudden I'll get oh, yeah, I'm aligned somehow. I wonder what is that I'm agreeing with, and I kind of can
Well, you
go
taught
use
your
that
body
as
the you
the
taught your
yes
body
and
what
no.
yes and no is, so then your body will just do it. Is
Yeah,
it? Oh yeah,
agreeing,
that's
or
good.
it's like unconsciously agreeing or disagreeing or
Yeah.
something.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah, that's fun.
so the next chapter, if we're ready to move on, is
Okay, wait.
patience. This is,
But let's end this one and start another one.
do you want to end the meeting or just end the YouTube, or how do you want to do it?
End the meeting and the YouTube, and then we'll start another one.
Should you're going to disappear then if we end the
I'm gonna
meeting? Should I just
disappear, and you have to disappear as well, and then you come back in again.
it's like death. I'm not quite sure I'm ready. Not quite ready.
Yeah. Bye.